All right, hello collective. We're gonna talk about energy projection, what it is, and the projection, the rejection, and the conjection of them all, of everything. So, with energy projection, you have to understand that there are two crucial roles when it comes to energy projection. There is the energy inside of you that's being reflected, because a projection can only be reflected, it can only be rejected, so to speak, as well as the projector. So, which truly and honestly, you play both parts, the other person plays both parts, whatever you're looking at plays both parts. It's like looking into a mirror. You're going to see your reflection in that mirror, despite if it's a one-way mirror or a two-way mirror, right? You're just not going to see what's on the other side, which is the whole point of energy projection. And within the conscious community, within just the YouTube community, I see of spiritualists that talk about projection. They like to coddle and make one side seem fully innocent when that's not the case at all. Point being this: when energy is being projected to you, it's because there's something in you that's making that appear. And to make it simplified, we will talk about the, because I've talked about this a lot. But we'll have to talk about it some more, because it's something that needs to be uh put in its own little video. But with energy projection, let's say you're in a situation where you feel someone sending you negative energy, right? How would you know it's negative energy if you were not negative in that sense as well? Overstand? You can't have something projected to you. And breaking down the word projection, pro means to exchange, it's to exchange for, ject is to throw, and ion is for a condition or an action. So altogether, projection is to throw for in exchange for a condition, right? When you are facing energy projection, it's something that's being thrown to you, right, in exchange for a form of creation, for a condition to be made, right? But what's not being seen is that condition was already made internally. All things that are being projected have to be thrown out of into. So if you weren't having that energy, the other person wouldn't be having the energy, and vice versa. This is where it comes to you controlling your own. So when you watch a video or you hear something, this is what people don't like to take accountability for, because people are so unconscious and unaware of who they are and what they're doing that they're not even realizing the whole point. When you get offended at something, when you feel like, oh, this is wrong, it's because there's something inside of you that is wrong. Because you wouldn't be feeling like something is wrong unless it's something inside of you that is also wrong, that needs to agree with that to then make the situation wrong. Remember, this is a heart and brain communication system that we're working under. So if you're thinking and it's like, oh, I don't feel good about this, why don't you? What about the energy that you're taking in is projecting as not feeling good? Well, it's because there's something inside of you that already is going to resonate with the disagreeable. We are Yahweh. We are made from the Jehovians, from the Yahwehians. Yah and Wei, agreeable and disagreeable. We have both parts. What are you going to choose? What God are you going to choose? Unfortunately, a lot of people choose the disagreeable, which is to be combative, to disagree, to say, no, this isn't right, yada, 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 because they agree with the devil inside of them, which makes them disagreeable, which then makes their actions project to be disagreeable. That is why you face disagreements, because something inside of you is not agreeing with another part of you that's also inside of you that you're not seeing correctly, because you'd rather disagree than to agree due to your own moral compass and your own choices inside of your own system that allows you to feel that way. And we're emphasizing you because, well, frankly, you would not feel like you disagree or agree with something if you didn't disagree and or agree with that exact pattern that has been made within your bioframe, right? Inside your whole psyche, right? You can try and prove me wrong, but you'll just look crazy doing so because you can't disprove the truth, unfortunately. And that's what a lot of the conscious community wants to do. Is they're like, oh, but I'm not. Anyway, we have rejection. And a lot of times, and this is what a lot of people deal with, is rejection, which again, eject to throw, ion for a condition. So to throw again for a condition. So people reject, and what they'll do is, oh, I don't want this. I'm rejecting that. Well, that you're throwing what you have just. What's funny about this is you're throwing your projection. You're throwing the energy of being disagreeable out again. Instead of it being just something internally, you now reliving it. You're having it happen again. You're raw light. You're bringing it to light. You're allowing it to go from the dark, which is internal, which is where the projection starts, to the rejection, which is outward, which is you disagreeing completely and or agreeing with however this is going, and having that output. Now, you can reject something by agreeing to it. You can reject something by denying. It all depends on the context and what you're doing. I'll have an example here after we talk about these, but I want to get these three things set out. And then we have conjection, which is to persuade, ject, to throw, ion for a condition. So when you conject, you're throwing something to persuade a condition. This is also called assumption as well. That's why you don't assume, because you end up conjecting, you end up conjuring, if you will. Wordplay, that's all it is. Anyway, when you are in a situation, let's say you're in a fight with someone, and they say something like, I don't know, I'm going to keep talking about the wall. It's easy. The wall is green. Like, it's not green. Well, what happened there is someone projected how they felt onto you. That wall is green. Now, this is where things go from the macro to the micro. Within there is most likely some green. As when you see, well, actually, no, there is, because let me explain this. When you see any sort of color, this is how light reflections work. When you see any type of color, every color but the color present is being shown. That's how it works. Where eyes are work like a mirror like that. So when you see that, there is green in there, but you're unable to perceive it. Because what's happening is you're rejecting that color that's missing by putting it there, because it's not there. You need that color there. It goes, oh, this isn't there, that's not there. It's all computations that go within the brain. This is how colors work. It's a weird thing, and then that's just defined by how your brain works and all sorts of shit. We're not going to go that deep into it, but that's how light works. When you look outside and you see red cars, it's that car is every color but red. It's just because red passes through. It's the only color that can pass through because it's not there, and then you see it. Anyway, so those are the three ejections that we're going to be focusing on. There's projection, rejection, and conjection. So you end up needing to, when you have to persuade for something, you know what that means, like assuming things. That's what happens. So you go from projection to conjection to rejection. That's how it goes. You have your pros, your cons, and then it goes out. Simple enough. So you're in a fight with someone. They go, oh, that wall's green. And the projection is the wall's green. You end up needing to look at that wall to persuade yourself, or you assume, like, oh, it's not that. We'll come up with something better. Because I don't want to use the green wall. There's a better one we can use. So someone comes up to you and says says a statement like, hot dogs are the best food in the world, right? That's their projection. Your conjection that you could either take you can either accept that projection by allowing it to continue to be the projection by saying, oh yeah, hot dogs are good, or you could conject it by being like, I don't know. Why do you like hot dogs? Right? Those are the two things. But they would always lead to a rejection. Or you could reject it completely by saying, "Oh, hot dogs are just fucking nasty." However, right, paying attention to those three things. When you are suffering from energy projection, it's because there's something inside of you that's not seeing what you're rejecting, because all you're seeing is what's given to you by light, what's given to you in your focal vision. You're not seeing the whole array of things. Your mind is still so shut and closed down that you're not seeing bigger things. And this could go from people, places, things, ideals. This is how it is. And unfortunately, in this realm, there are so many people who are in this energy of rejection instead of acceptance because of how we're raised. Because first of all, you don't raise people, you raise cattle. And second of all, so many people have been told lies and are brainwashed and are honestly just a little bit, they're not going to be saved this lifetime, unfortunately. Some people just aren't. That's just how the game is played. They've been persuaded by the devil, by the 3D landscape, by wanting things of the physical realm so much that they are just in rejection and they're waiting on a false deity that is just going to throw them under the bridge and keep their soul in reincarnation for another year, for another eon. I said another year, but you know what I meant. More years, however. So understand that when you need to assume, when you end up conjecting or conjuring a response or trying to figure out what someone's saying, you need to be careful about that, because when you're in that realm of projection and rejection, all three of these play a role. Like you can't have one without the other two. These are all options that you work through, that you choose. This is how reality is. These are the three tubes or the three doors you get to open to say, but each door leads to a different one, and they're in different orders for every different subject. It's how ideas work. It's literally the matrix outlay. It's just how it is. This is a bit of a more complex, but we're going to talk about it the best we can. But when you conject or conjure something, you're needing to end up persuading something, or you're needing to get your idea to come across some better. You're finding a way to conjure up. Like this would be a conjection of telling you all about projection, to face the least amount of rejection, if that makes sense. Because I'm finding a way to explain something, not to assume in this case, but it can be seen as to assume, but to conjure, to create a new way to project information I know within outward, but doing it in a way that's not going to be rejected. Now, some people are going to reject it because they just love to reject things. Some people are going to accept it because they love to accept things. Simple as it is. It's just what you love to do in that moment. Whatever you do is up to you, but that's you that you're going to have to deal with your repercussions for however you handle it. Not saying that repercussions are good or bad, but repercussion it's just going to hit again. It's just going to be something that you have to face again. Ray, raw again. It's light. Y'all can break these words down. They're not that complicated. They are just suffixes, prefixes, integers. It's not even actual like things. There's just compound words. So just break them down. You'll find the truth of them. It's pretty simple. And then you just dig down deeper after that. Anyway, when you're in the energy of energy projection, though, we'll go back to projection, talking about that. You don't realize that you already have the energy inside of you, that you're only rejecting that part of you inside and putting it on someone else. So when you say you disagree with someone, it's because you disagree with yourself, and you're, instead of accepting the fact that you disagree with yourself, you're just outright saying, I don't think it's this, or I don't like that, or no, that's you rejecting a part of you. Now, that's not saying it's good or bad. Just be aware of what you're doing always. That's the whole thing about being a conscious being, is being aware of these things. When you say, I don't believe in this, or I don't this is something that I know this to be false or whatever, that's you rejecting that part of you that would believe something like that. Maybe it's an older part of you that believed in certain things at one point in your life that you're rejecting now, and that could be good for you, that could be bad for you, however that is for you. But the one thing that a lot of people, especially the conscious community, because they're the most unconscious people, that honestly, when it comes down to things, they're not even that elevated from the 3D uh, people, because they don't even think for themselves again. They just go to someone who is believed to be a leader or whatever, and they go around looking for things. This is why I don't say I'm a leader. I'm not a leader. If you want to think of me as a leader, you go for it. But I'm not that at all. Like I don't come up here to lead people. Wrong place, wrong person, completely. All right. If you can't think for yourself, I don't know why you're here. Simply plain and simple. Because thinking for yourself, actually taking information and researching it and learning and being conscious and doing what you're supposed to do here is the whole purpose. By just accepting information and just running around and accepting a bunch of things, you don't even know who you are. You just have a bunch of ideas that are then combating and diluting your whole world, causing confusion, illusions, chaos, all sorts of things. But a lot of people who are in the conscious community, within the spiritual community, I see it all the time. They end in this energy of rejection. They don't like hearing other people's opinion due to I'm older than you or this, that, or the other. I know 12-year-olds who are smarter than most of the people who talk. And most elders are so stubborn and stuck in their own ways that they don't even give a fuck what the youth says, despite the youth being the generation that we're supposed to be bringing up and listening to, because the youth are the ones that are not touched by the same faults and treacherous that you've gone through. That's the whole point of the youth. That's the whole point of why every divine book talks about, let's protect the youth, talk to the youth, like talk to the youth. Don't just belittle them. Like, and I'm gonna be real, like a lot of people do to me, like, y'all, I'm still the youth. Y'all elders, soften the fuck up. Stop belittling the youth. If you belittle, I've seen people talk down to like 12-year-olds who are coming up in the spiritual game and knowing more than them, and they still talk down to them. They talk to us, don't talk at us. That's the whole fucking thing. That's why no one listens to you, because you talk at people. You're not trying to talk to anyone. You're trying to convey a message that no one really gives a fuck about anymore, not because of arrogance, but because it's tradition, and tradition doesn't need to live on. That's the whole point. That's why you're stuck in these cycles. That's why your ancestors always go, hey, don't do this, don't do that. But then you do it anyway, because that's your tradition. That's what you were raised to do. That's what you're brainwashed to do. Tradition is just another word for brainwashing. Anyway, people in this rejection energy, they don't accept anything. They believe, which is lie, IVE. Let me get that real quick. Live for you. Let me get that for you real quick. IVE, pertaining to, tending to, doing to, servicing to. You're serving a lie when you believe. I mean, it's there already. I just wanted to get you all to IVE for certain. We could already, but that's what you're doing. When you believe something, your belief system, you're serving a lie. That's why they say, oh, just believe. Believe that, like, no, stop believing. Start knowing. This is the whole this is the whole reason why Nuwapu was a thing. It's what the Egyptians and the Semitics, everyone had before fucking laboratory babies and Cabbage Patch Kids and Children of the Corn were fucking breeded and made, and now they're running around not knowing a damn fucking thing because they think that they know everything, going around digging up artifacts trying to prove things that aren't proving anything of their own. Overstand this. Start knowing right knowledge. Start studying. I don't care what the fuck the media says about Dr. Malachi Z. York. That shit is a fucking lie. And if you had 2 seconds of your day, even less than that, if you could just look at the stuff that he's talked about, you'd see why it's a lie. It's the same thing, but y'all just love to just believe what the government says and then also be against it. And doesn't it say in the Bible not to praise two gods? Like, you can't have two leaders, you can't give thanks, you can't give praise to two gods. But then so many people do so. Oh, I love God, but I want the physical world too. That's two gods. What are you serving, God or Satan? God didn't sin. Devil didn't go down. Lucifer didn't go down to hell. Lucifer came down to earth. Newsflash. So are you serving Lucifer or are you serving the Most High? What are you doing? What's the gig? What's the plan? Is what you have to ask yourself when it comes down to this. And this is the whole rejection projection battle. Are you going to project what you feel, or are you going to reject what you feel for XYZ because it's persuading you, because it's ending up making you feel better by an illusion? These are the things you have to know. But anyway, going back to right knowledge, going to Nuwapu, Learning the truths, learning the hard, cold facts is what you need to do. You can't sit around and just like lie to yourself 24/7. I mean, you can, but what good is that going to do? It's going to send you back here because you haven't learned how to ascend. And ascension doesn't mean going to 40, 50, 60, 70, all those dimensions. Those are just higher realms of knowing yourself. Overstand that. The blockages that you have on you is just blockages of you wanting to look at yourself as a deeper person, not realizing that you are both agreeable and disagreeable, and it's up to you to decide if you want to be agreeable or disagreeable. And a lot of people like to be disagreeable because their ego or the way that they think that they feel wants them to be like, oh, this is what I believe. I don't No one cares about what you believe. What's the truth? Who cares? This world is made of beliefs and made of opinions. Who gives a damn? We need truth. So if you're not able to accept truth, then I hate to break it to you, you are part of the devil's legion. If you cannot accept truth, that's one of the ways to trap the devil is by strictly naming the truth. And if you can't accept the truth, you're somewhat along those lines. Tenfold, you have to accept it because you wouldn't have that in you if you weren't down here in the first place. So you just have to understand that. And this whole energy projection battle that people go through where they're like, I'm not bad, I'm an innocent person. Are you though? Because if you were innocent, you wouldn't have be here unless you chose to be here, and not everyone chose to be here. A lot of y'all incarnated from past lives. Very few of y'all who are here actually chose from the ethers to come down, and you would remember, you would have key points. I distinctly remember the darkness before I seen the light. I remember being in the bosom of the Divine Mother and the Divine Father, the Most High, in the ethers before coming down here. That was a choice I decided to make. I didn't just bounce out and leave. I was here to teach. I came here with a lesson to give people, to go help people have higher knowledge about who they are. Most people have cycles from the past that they aren't healed from, which is why they're so intense in this life. And you can tell when you're always being targeted. And it's not something that happens since, a few years. It's something that's been since birth. Being targeted since birth is a huge indicator that you're supposed to be doing something big. It's this whole energy. Regardless, when it comes to energy projection, people need to overstand heavily that it comes from inside you, and you have to accept that there needs to be less. The only thing you should reject truly and fully is Satan, is the devil, is the Illuminati, the Luciferians, truly. And it's not the whole Illuminati, because if you are really in the know to know, you know that there are two. It's the same thing with Masons. It's the same thing with everything. It's not a duality, because that's not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a spectrum of sides, whether you're this or there, and you're climbing the ranks to either, right? So understand that. It's the Luciferians that want you to feel one way, will think one way, rather than feel another way. The truth is something that resonates within your heart. And there's so many people that are stuck in this la la land energy due to the spell that they're over, where they're being told all these lies. And instead of seeing it, they end up projecting that life. And it's like, well, this is what I signed up for. Did you really sign up for that? Or are you just accepting what your fate is leading you to? Overstand these things. When you truly are tapped into yourself and you can see how projections work, and you can see how rejections work, and how the rejection of seeing what the truth is sent out, seeing these things, understanding these things, really allowing these things to tap in deep with you is the main key at this point in time for a lot of people to really dig down and grasp. Because a lot of people are still stuck in this energy vortex of, projection or not. And unfortunately, those that are still stuck in the energy of wanting to project are playing the devil's game. They're playing the exact game that the devil made for them to play so that they could come back and play it again next life too. Overstand that. There is, if you truly dig down deep and you truly see these root causes before they even become a projection or a rejection or a conjection, before they're even conjured up into 3D, before they're even needing to be seen externally, if you get to that point before that happens, then there's no need to fear it happening. That fear comes from a rejection. That fear of, oh, it's something is going to come up, is a fear of you not seeing something yet. And it's not, it's a warning to yourself saying, hey, if you don't focus on this, it's going to pop up again, because you're either going to stumble upon it or it's going to come into you. Either way, it's going to happen. So understand that as well. When energy is being projected to you, know that it's not being projected to you from an outside source. It's being projected from you. A lot of these readers will keep reading the same energy because, unfortunately, A, they're stuck in a vortex that they're unable to leave because they're unaware of seeing it. And B, that energy is being projected to them because of people who are also rejecting that energy for themselves and projecting it towards that reader. There are a lot of people that go to readers on YouTube and stuff, and they're like, oh, I want to know more about this situation, and I want to hear this person talk about it. You understand that that projection that you're sending to that person keeps them stuck in that loop. This is a whole karmic loop. We talked about it once on an older video. I don't remember which one it was, but talking about how that whole cycle happens where you desire something from an individual, and then that keeps you in a karmic cycle because it keeps you dependent on that energy to do it. Whether they are assigned to do that or not, it's you also adding the energy onto it. So understand that as well. But when it comes to rejection, everything happens internally first. So whenever you are rejected for something on the external, it's because you're rejecting something on the internal. And people go, oh, rejection's your blessing. Like when things don't work out, it's good for you. When you're rejected from something, that's good for you. Is it always good for you? Sometimes that rejection happens on the external because you're still not seeing the rejection you're giving yourself on the internal. No one digs that deep. People just kind of overlook that. And this has a lot to do with how you feel, your emotions, how you're thinking, how you're feeling. A lot to do with the manifestation game, where you need to focus more on your heart space and what makes you feel good rather than what makes logical sense or whatever off the tongue rhyme someone makes to put you under that spell. Frankly, a lot of people fall for that one too. But in the energy of rejection, there is this energy of confusion that happens. Either when you reject something or someone or something rejects you. However, there's an energy of confusion. And that confusion comes from you not overstanding something, for you not completely understanding who you are or overstanding a situation. It comes from a lack of, not almost a lack of authority, but a lack of wisdom, a lack of searching that people do. When people reject things, they go, no, I don't want that. But then they figure out that they do. That's because they weren't listening to themselves. When you reject something, it usually means you're not listening to yourself in the fullest. And that's something on the journey that you really have to overstand. When you are, let me put this in a good way. When you choose yourself to go along with God's plan that God has for you, you have to reject those old parts of you, because those old parts of you that you are refusing to reject are projecting out and causing kerfuffles and things. And sometimes you don't have the will to reject those things. So your energy that you're holding within yourself that's being projected out as, oh, I don't want to hang out with this person, I want this and I want that, is then projected out onto other people. So understand that. Give me a second. Sorry about that. I had to respond to a message real quick. Anyway, when it comes to rejection, it's so important to make sure that what you're rejecting is something that you are trying to either remove or gain from. And a lot of people end up rejecting the path of ascension due to their comfort zones, due to their own lack of overstanding, lack of understanding, lack of understanding in a frequency within a subject. Um, and this is why religions and stuff are split the way that they are. They have so many fucking fractions and all sorts of shit because people end up rejecting, oh, I don't believe in this, I'm going to split it up and say it this way, when they're all trying to say the same thing. It's just everyone's stuck within the stubborn energy of rejecting how words are said rather than digging down deeper and finding the true truth of it, and not accepting one man's translation of it, finding the actual solidified birthing of it, which a lot of people don't like or can accept due to Luciferian ties that they have. That doesn't mean that, I'm not going to dig too deep into that one. I'm just going to leave it the way it is because that's the truth of it. These are the ways to find out. Changing the times is what the devil is trying to do, and changing the times is what happens all the time. You see it within religious scripts. You see it in day-to-day media is everyone's trying to change something. You got daylight savings, daylight spendings time, right? There's not changing time by finding the root of something. Finding the root of something is finding out the origins, where it began. There's no changing of time doing that. But changing what man said over time is, again, part of like the Luciferian agenda. So believing in something that the Luciferian agenda has put out to the public for public consumption makes you a part of that agenda, whether you want to admit it or not. Unfortunately, that's just how the cookie has to crumble. And this is that big part of the conscious community that they like to reject and ignore because they feel like they know the truth whenever they're spiraling off into insanity and spiritual psychosis and things, rather than looking at what it is. Rather than taking their power back, they're allowing their power to be spread out and exchanged and given to so many random people that they're not even focusing on themselves. It's like the whole it's like the whole drone situation. So many people are still giving their energy into the drone situation by making videos and stuff talking about it. You don't even know what it is. People want to assume what it is because they're not willing to accept, they're rejecting the idea that they don't even know what it is because no one knows what it is. And people can talk out their ass like, oh, I know what's this. Do you now? Do you 1000% know? So why can't you just call them up and be like, yo, why don't y'all come show us? You know what I mean? If you know what they are because they've contacted you, then call them up and but you can't because you won't. And you can't because you don't even know. So overstand that. This is the whole energy of rejection, of projection, feeling the human has this weird need to feel more grandeur than they are. They forget that's why you don't know who you are, because you have this sense of filling a bigger shoe or feeling like there's a grander opportunity out there for you, and you're rejecting yourself by not even seeing who you are, which is grand enough. You see what I mean? So understand this. This was a little bit of a ranty one, but overall, I think I've got my points out with how energy projection was. I talk about it a lot, but being aware of what's being projected out and not rejecting yourself from what's going on, because all these things are very important to understand in the grand scheme of things. So you're not caught up in these loopholes and these cycles that keep you from having a deeper understanding. um, People will coddle because people are like, oh, but you need coddling or you need like support. Yeah, you do, but what's the best support? Getting immediate care or just putting little bandages over on top of it and then ripping them off? You know what I mean? It's best to actually fully heal and understand these things rather than to let them float around and do whatever they want to do. But regardless, y'all know the drill, description for everything, contact and everything. But I love you all so much, to the moon and back, tenfold and forever, and I'll see y'all later.